Apologies for the raw, uncut nature of this video. You can see my makeshift microphone stand I'm pretending to cover here. I'm currently working on getting a boom arm for my office, so in the future, these videos should be a lot crisper and clearer. But I just wanted to cover some big lessons from my coaching career so far. And if we haven't met, my name's Alex Murphy. I coach everyday CrossFit members to fix their relationship with food so that they can lose weight and keep it off and ultimately live the life with incredible body confidence that they've always dreamed of. And if you're new here and we haven't met before, I'd love if you found some value from today to subscribe to our channel so you get more videos like this, and maybe share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. It gives me instant feedback to know that we need to put more of this content out to the world. I wanted to share with you 5 of the biggest lessons I've learned over the 8+ years I've spent in the fitness industry helping people to lose weight. So here we go. Okay, lesson number 1. You cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. This is something that my business mentor loves to talk about, and throughout this video, throughout the rest of my content, you're going to find a lot of parallels between the business world, the financial world, and the health and fitness world, because they're so closely tied in terms of using numerical values, data to drive decisions, but also stepping up in terms of personal self-development. If you have money problems, probably a self-development issue. If you have problems growing your own business, probably a self-development issue, because the answers are all out there online. One of the common things about our program is we don't teach people to suck eggs. We assume that most people have a basic understanding of nutrition. Like, for example, if someone walked up to you in the street and said, what's healthy food, what's unhealthy food? You'd probably have a good enough idea of how to tell that person to eat healthy. The problem is we don't have the mindset tools or the understanding of how to apply these tools to our everyday lives. So we are consumed with all this information, especially in the nutrition space. We're consumed with all this information, but we don't know how to apply it to ourselves. And there's usually 1 or 2 hidden secrets that we're not figured out yet. So when it comes to solving a problem that you haven't been able to solve yet, you've probably used the same level of thinking up until now. It's probably looked something like this. Oh, my summer holiday is 3 weeks away. I'm gonna drop my calories as drastically as I can. I'm gonna only eat chicken and salad. I'm gonna stay off the drink, and I'm gonna train twice a day for the next 3 weeks. Sound familiar? I know, because I've been there and I've seen thousands of people do it themselves and get it wrong at this time. So why would we try to do that again if it's just not worked for us up until now? You have to step into a new identity. That's something that we talk about all the time in our content, is this identity shift, and it's gonna link very closely to point 2. But just think about this for the first lesson. You cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. So if you need to solve the weight loss problem, everything you've tried up until now probably needs to be a lesson or a piece of feedback for you to know, okay, this is not working, what do I need to change? Lesson number 2, the past holds the secrets to your breakthrough. Now, what I mean by this is you have 3 different identities. You've got multiple identities, I'm sure, but there's 3 different time-bound identities. You've got your past self, your present self, and your future self. Sometimes we call that the aspirational identity. Now, your present self, who you are right now watching this video, is an accumulation of who your past self has been. All the lessons they've learned, all the choices they've made, all the beliefs that they've formed, all the habits they've formed over the course of their life. Now, the clearest way I can explain this, when we get people to do a self concept, which is literally just evaluating past, present, and where they want to be in the future, the past is the secret to unlocking all those keys of success and your breakthrough. Why? Because your past self, let's say from the age of 6, 7, 8, has been taught by your parents that you have to clean your plate every time you're at a dinner table. Now, that does not serve your present self or your future self, because you know only one way, and that's to finish food, clear your plate, and regardless of how full you're actually feeling. So for a lot of people, when they enter our program and they do a past self-analysis or a self-concept, that's a huge breakthrough for them to notice, what was I taught about food from a young age? Oh, I was taught that you have to clean your plate at every meal regardless of how full you feel. Well, that doesn't serve present Alex or future Alex. So that's a behavior that I'd need to learn to break. Another example would be if you're the teenager who gains a little bit of weight too quickly and suddenly your friends start to label you. I have great friends, by the way, but this happened to me. I was definitely gaining a little bit of weight really quickly as a teenager, and all of a sudden you start to get picked on, labeled. If you're always the heavy friend, that can really tie into your emotions and your identity. Now, if that's been the only thing that you were raised on your whole life, and that's who you've known yourself to be up until now, there's 2 things that will happen. Every time you try to make a step outside of that identity, you start going to the gym, you start eating healthy, you start drinking less and going to sleep earlier, your internal narrative feels threatened by that. This is like, whoa, this isn't who we are. We're gonna start subtly self-sabotaging by throwing in different behaviors here that actually align with who we are, because we feel comfortable here, we feel safe. We don't wanna step outside this comfort zone into a new identity because it's unfamiliar. The biggest challenge that I have with my coaching practice with clients is helping them to just step that little bit further outside their comfort zone, because it's scary, but that's where all the growth is. And it's a lot easier to grow when you have someone guiding you and helping you through it. Third point, weight loss is not a food issue, it's a personal development issue. And what I mean by this, I mean, we're 3 points in and I haven't even mentioned a food source yet. And there's enough nutrition information out there right now that you probably know to prioritize protein in your diet and keep calorie balance in the right realm. But it's so much more than that. What you'll find is, again, linked to the past point about how trapped in your identity you are. We call it the identity trap because you have to develop into someone new and someone bigger and better with a bigger vision for their life. Otherwise, that identity is just going to keep showing up with the same behaviors, the same self-sabotage your whole life. So we would say to people, focus 10% on the actual meal prep and food and stuff to eat. 90% of it has to go into upgrading your mindset and skills. Point number 4, people don't eat when they get hungry, they eat when they experience an emotion. Now, let me just preface this by saying there's 2 major mistakes I see here. Number 1 is you've got a holiday coming up in 3 weeks. The only way you know how to lose weight is to drastically slash your calories and start going to the gym twice a week, start going for long runs. And ultimately, you do get extremely hungry, the cravings hit super hard, you think you're just going to be able to ride through it and motivation and willpower will get you there alone. But unfortunately, motivation and willpower is very short fused and you end up binge eating and going off the rails and probably gaining a little bit more weight. Now, I hope I've not hit too close to home with that one, but that is one side of the coin where people are just crash dieting, restricting heavily all the time. They definitely know what hunger feels like. In fact, they're making themselves too hungry to the point that they can't sustain the diet. The flip side to that is if you're currently, getting at least your body weight in grams of protein every day, you're probably feeling pretty full. We would say take your body weight in pounds, aim for that much protein every day. I guarantee you'll never feel hungry. And if that's you, well then why do we still indulge and go off track and enjoy a little bit of junk food from time to time? The problem is we're experiencing an emotion. We don't feel comfortable experiencing that emotion. We don't have good emotional coping tools, or some people are just flat out uncomfortable with the word emotion altogether, so they just completely glaze over it and ignore it. And if that's the case, you're looking for the dopamine hit of junk food and sweet food to soothe that emotional need. The emotional needs that we see most commonly are stress, boredom, fatigue, lack of sleep, lack of routine or purpose. I know we're not blending into emotional states there, but you're definitely more volatile hormonally when you lack sleep and lack purpose. So it's not about the foods you're eating, it's not about being prepared. I mean, that's 10% of it, like we mentioned, but it's actually this process. Notice the emotion, name it, decide what you want to do. So this is just a basic awareness level, and this 3-part process is going to help you immensely. Number 1, notice the feeling. You have to start looking at your emotions and realizing when they crop up. Then the second thing is name it. This can be like the 3 o'clock office cravings, boredom emotion, whatever you want to label it. This could be like the winter nights, haven't seen the sun in a while type emotion. Whatever you're going with, notice, name, decide. Decide is the really important part, because what most people think they need to do is ignore the emotion, ignore the food, don't eat anything like that. Don't eat chocolate, pizza, drinks, anything at all. But actually, part of mindful nutrition and being able to sustain your weight loss results long term revolves around you being flexible and indulging mindfully. Many of our best clients who lose 10 to 20 kilos and radically transform their body confidence, they eat pizza once a week. They have a chocolate bar every other day. They don't make it a complete binge out session or way off track with their calories. They let it fit into their calorie target and they allow themselves to indulge in these small things very mindfully. So if you notice that you actually don't know what pure hunger feels like, it's a really good opportunity for you to practice that and notice when you're feeling, is this hunger or am I just trying to solve a problem with food? That step alone will do wonders for your weight loss and control of your appetite. Okay, last point, because I've waffled on a little bit here. Success is a bigger threat to success than adversity. What does that mean? Well, when you start off on your weight loss journey, you are fed up, insecure, uncomfortable in your own skin, your clothes don't fit right, you're in an adverse state. And we talked about that dark energy that initially gets you going. That is the kind of hatred or self-loathing that a lot of people feel, the guilt that they feel when they start a diet. And it's fine, it's activation energy, it gets you up off the couch, it gets you to work, but it's dark energy. It's built on hatred and a dissatisfaction with yourself, and you cannot grow into hatred. You cannot hate your way into weight loss. I'll explain why. When you start out with this energy, it's activation. So it's enough to get you going, and it's enough to help you maybe lose that first 5 kilos or so. Typically it gets you about 6, maybe 12 weeks if you're lucky on this dark energy continuum. We call it away from motivation. You're literally running away from who you are in this moment. The problem is people lose that little bit of weight, or they get 6 to 12 weeks of consistent dieting under their belt, and they're a couple of degrees removed away from that pain. The pain isn't as prevalent, the energy isn't as dark, it's not as strong as it was at the beginning. And what happens is we don't know how to upgrade our goal setting process and our mindset to take us to reward and pleasure-based goals. Towards to is what we call that motivation type. So we enter this little complacency zone, or the danger zone, where ultimately we get complacent, we fall a little bit back into one of these habits. We call these micro compensations, where you just slack off a little bit, and ultimately, like we mentioned, that past self pulls you back to the zone that it's comfortable in. Then you gain a little bit of weight back, you feel guilty, and you think, well, weight loss just isn't for me. Why can I not do this? Why can I not keep it off long term? And you're stuck in this weight gain, weight loss cycle your whole life, because you never learn this next part, how to change from away from motivation to towards to motivation. So what you'll see is when you're here, when you're in the adversity zone, the pain zone, it's a chance to get going. It really does light you up. But when you're successful for a little bit of time, you suddenly have a new threat. And that new threat is something that we work really, really hard on with our clients to help them upgrade their nutrition mindset and their goal setting process. If you take an Olympian or a CrossFit Games athlete, they're not exercising to move away from pain. They're actually exercising and training to pursue a goal, pursue a reward, whether it's financial, a gold medal, a status symbol, something like that. So that is one of the biggest shifts that you have to make. And we're going to be bringing more content out on how you can upgrade your goal setting. But it looks like instead of, if I just lose this 5 kilos, it becomes, what could I do if I started training for a running event, or if I signed up for a Hyrox event, something like that. So just remember that success is a bigger threat to your success than adversity. It's easy to get started. It's really, really hard to keep going. But that's something that we're experts in helping people to do. Overcome that initial adversity and that weight gain, weight loss cycle to ultimately move forward, lose more weight than they ever have in their entire lives, and live a life with body confidence that they never even dreamed of. So, like I said, I waffled on a little bit there, but I really hope at least one of those lessons was helpful for you in shifting your mindset and your narrative to think differently about nutrition. That's ultimately the goal of our program and the goal of all this content that I produce. So if you did like it, I would love if you would subscribe to our channel. It means you get more information like this that you pretty much don't get anywhere else. All you're bombarded with is air fryer recipes, calorie guides, and you know that that's not working for you up until now. If you really enjoyed this and you know someone around you who could do with hearing it, that's how great ideas spread. So you'd be doing us a huge favor if you just sent this link to someone and shared this video and said, hey, this is interesting, I think you might like it. If you're really keen to let us know how we can do better for you and produce more valuable information, I'd love you to comment below with one of the lessons that stood out to you the most. But I appreciate your time and attention today. I won't keep you any longer. Until next time, take care.